Women don't want your exhausting effort. They want your presence, your authenticity, your grounded strength. A woman values consistency over intensity, respect over sacrifice, and calm confidence over control. When you stand in your truth, lead with clarity, and embody peace, she feels safe, desired, and truly connected. When it comes to relationships, many men believe that the more effort they put in, the more a woman will love, respect, and stay loyal to them. They assume that grand gestures, endless sacrifices, and constant chasing will earn her heart. But the truth is, what women truly crave is authenticity, not effort. Authenticity is about showing up as your real self, grounded in who you are, rather than performing or trying too hard to impress. When you are authentic, you allow her to see the man behind the actions, the essence of your character, and that is far more powerful than any display of effort. Effort often stems from a place of insecurity. It comes from the belief that you are not enough as you are, so you must do more, give more, and sacrifice more just to be valued. This leads to overcompensating, constantly buying gifts, adjusting your personality, or tolerating things that don't align with your self-respect. While you think this proves your love, in reality, it communicates weakness and neediness. A woman can feel when a man is acting from insecurity, and instead of deepening her attraction, it usually diminishes it. She doesn't want to feel like you are working overtime to win her. She wants to feel like she naturally draws out the best in you without you having to perform. Authenticity, on the other hand, radiates strength. It's the courage to be who you are without apology, without bending over backward to meet unrealistic expectations. It's about speaking your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about holding your ground when boundaries are tested. A man who is authentic doesn't fake his emotions or pretend to be what he is not. He doesn't say yes when he means no just to keep the peace. He doesn't fear losing someone by being honest. Instead, he understands that the right woman will be drawn to his genuine self, not the mask he puts on to impress. When you are authentic, you create an energy of trust. A woman feels safe around a man who is consistent in his actions and words, who doesn't shift depending on who he's with or what he's trying to gain. That sense of reliability is magnetic because it shows depth of character. She doesn't have to decode mixed signals or wonder if you are pretending. She knows what she sees is what she gets, and that is priceless in a world where so many people hide behind appearances. At the core, women are not impressed by how much effort you exert trying to prove yourself. They are moved by the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need to prove anything. A man who is authentic carries himself with dignity, respects his boundaries, and chooses to give from a place of strength, not desperation. He doesn't perform love, he lives it. And when a woman feels that raw authenticity, she doesn't just admire it, she respects it, and she stays drawn to it. One of the deepest desires a woman has in a relationship is to feel truly seen, heard, and understood. Emotional presence is what allows this to happen. It goes beyond flowers, dinners, or saying, "I love you." It is the ability to be fully present with her, to tune into her emotions without distraction, and to make her feel like in that moment, nothing else matters. Most men think effort is about doing more, working harder, planning surprises, or constantly being available. But what she values more than effort is your presence, your ability to connect with her on a level where she feels emotionally safe and deeply acknowledged. Too often, men fall into the trap of physical presence but emotional absence. They may sit with her, but their mind is somewhere else, on work, on their phone, on their stress. She notices when you are with her physically but not truly connected. It creates distance, even if you are sitting right next to her. What she craves instead is that you look into her her eyes and actually listen, not just to respond, but to understand. When you validate her feelings, when you hold space without judgment or trying to fix everything, you give her what she really wants: emotional intimacy. Emotional presence is powerful because it builds trust in a way that effort alone never can. A woman doesn't feel secure just because you provide for her or show her material gestures. She feels secure when she knows she can open her heart to you and not be dismissed or ignored. This is where most men fail. They hear her words, but don't feel her emotions. They rush to solve the problem instead of slowing down to connect with the person. Presence doesn't always require answers. Sometimes it simply requires silence, attention, and empathy. When you master emotional presence, you stop being just her partner and become her safe space. She learns that she can express her fears, her dreams, her vulnerabilities without fear of being judged. That kind of bond is what makes her loyal beyond anything else. Effort can impress her in the moment, but presence leaves a lasting imprint on her heart. Because long after she forgets the fancy dinners or the expensive gifts, she will remember how you made her feel. Being emotionally present also means being grounded in yourself. If you are constantly restless, anxious, or insecure, you cannot offer calmness to her. Your energy becomes scattered, and she cannot trust you with her emotions if you can't handle your own. This is why presence is tied to your inner strength. When you are centered, calm, and in control of yourself, you create an environment where she feels she can let her guard down. What women want is not a man who exhausts himself trying to impress through effort. They want a man who can slow down, silence the noise, and truly connect. When you are emotionally present, you give her the rare gift of being seen for who she is, and that means more than anything you could ever do for her. Many men approach relationships with bursts of intensity, showering a woman with attention, affection, and effort in the beginning, only for that energy to fade over time. At first, she may be impressed by the grand gestures, the constant messages, and the overwhelming enthusiasm. But what she truly wants, what she ultimately values, is not those temporary spikes of intensity. It's the steady rhythm of consistency. Intensity can light a spark, but consistency is what keeps the flame alive. When a man is intense at first but cannot sustain it, it leaves a woman feeling misled. She wonders if the man she met in the beginning was real or just a performance to win her over. Intensity is easy when excitement is high, when novelty fuels passion, but the real test of character is whether you can remain consistent once the newness wears off. Women don't want a man who burns bright one moment and disappears the next. They want a man whose words and actions align day in and day out, regardless of mood, circumstances, or convenience. Consistency is powerful because it builds trust. When a woman knows what to expect from you, she feels safe. She doesn't have to guess where she stands or question your intentions. She can relax into the relationship without constantly doubting your loyalty or sincerity. This doesn't mean you have to be predictable or robotic. It means that your love, respect, and effort are not conditional. You don't show up strong one week and then withdraw the next. You don't promise her the world when you feel good, but then pull away when life gets difficult. Consistency communicates reliability, and reliability is one of the strongest foundations of attraction. Intensity, on the other hand, often comes from a place of insecurity. It's the need to impress, to prove something, to win validation. Men who rely on intensity often do so because they fear losing her if they don't over-deliver in the moment. But this kind of energy is not sustainable. Eventually, you burn out or grow resentful, and the relationship collapses under the weight of expectations you set but couldn't uphold. Women can feel this imbalance, and it leaves them emotionally unsatisfied. True consistency doesn't mean you never make mistakes. It means you show up, you take accountability, and you keep moving forward with steady commitment. It's about doing the small things regularly, respecting her boundaries, following through on your word, giving her your attention without distraction, and maintaining your character no matter what. It's these daily actions, not once in a while displays of passion, that prove your worth. A woman will always choose the man who is stable, dependable, and consistent over the man who dazzles her for a short time but cannot sustain it. Intensity may get her attention, but consistency earns her heart. It's not about how brightly you burn at first. It's about how long you can keep the fire alive without fading. And that's what makes her trust you, respect you, and choose you over and over again. In a world full of chaos, noise, and constant demands, one of the most attractive qualities a man can bring into a relationship is his calmness. Women may be drawn to confidence, looks, or charisma at first, but what they deeply value over time is a man who can remain grounded and unshaken in the midst of life's storms. Masculine calm is not about being passive or indifferent. It's about holding an inner stability that allows her to feel safe and secure in your presence. It's the ability to handle challenges without losing control, to manage emotions without outbursts, and to radiate strength without aggression. When a man lacks calmness, the relationship feels unstable. His mood swings, impulsive reactions, or constant stress create an environment of uncertainty. A woman cannot relax with a man who is easily rattled, easily provoked, or constantly restless. It drains her energy and forces her into a role of emotional caretaker, which is not what she truly desires. She doesn't want to be the one holding everything together while he crumbles under pressure. What she longs for is a partner who can carry himself with composure, someone who provides balance instead of chaos. Masculine calm is attractive because it signals self-mastery. A man who is calm under pressure shows that he is not controlled by external circumstances. He doesn't lose himself to anger, fear, or insecurity. Instead, he remains centered, choosing responses rather than reacting impulsively. This kind of presence is magnetic because it demonstrates strength at a deeper level, not the loud, performative strength of trying to dominate, but the quiet power of inner control. It reassures her that when life throws challenges your way, you won't collapse or lash out, you will stand firm. A calm man also communicates confidence without words. He doesn't need to prove himself constantly or seek validation through exaggerated actions. His peace of mind speaks louder than any performance. Women are sensitive to a man's energy, and when they feel calmness radiating from him, it puts their own nervous system at ease. She can let go of her defenses and relax into his presence because she trusts that his stability will not waver. This is why women often describe calm men as safe, not boring, but safe in the sense that she doesn't have to anticipate emotional chaos. Masculine calm doesn't mean being detached or emotionless. It means having the maturity to process emotions in a healthy way without letting them dictate destructive behavior. It's about knowing how to communicate without shouting, how to set boundaries without hostility, and how to lead without intimidation. It creates an environment where respect and peace flourish, which is far more valuable than drama or intensity. At the end of the day, women don't want a man who exhausts them with instability. They want a man whose calm presence gives them reassurance, whose strength steadies the relationship, and whose composure inspires trust. Masculine calm is not just attractive, it's a necessity for lasting love because it turns a relationship from a battlefield into a sanctuary. Respect and boundaries are the foundation of any healthy and lasting relationship. Without them, love cannot truly thrive, no matter how much effort, passion, or attraction exists in the beginning. Many men make the mistake of thinking that love means giving a woman everything she wants, sacrificing their needs, or tolerating behavior that undermines their dignity. But what women truly respect is not blind effort. It's a man who respects himself enough to establish boundaries and upholds them with quiet strength. A woman cannot respect a man who has no limits, because without boundaries, there is no structure, and without structure, there is no trust. Respect starts with how you treat yourself. If you constantly allow her to walk over you, disrespect you, or disregard your values, you teach her that your words mean nothing. She may not admit it openly, but deep down, she loses admiration for you. Women don't admire a man who is too afraid to say no, who tolerates disrespect to keep her happy, or who bends himself out of shape just to avoid conflict. That is not love, that is fear of losing her. And fear never inspires respect. Respect comes from strength, from the willingness to stand firm in who you are and what you allow. Boundaries are not walls, they are standards. They communicate what you will and will not accept in your life. When you calmly enforce them, you show her that you are not desperate, that your worth does not depend on her approval. Ironically, this makes her respect you more because women are naturally drawn to men who can lead with clarity and conviction. A woman feels safe with a man who can stand his ground. She may test your boundaries at times, not because she wants to destroy them, but because she wants to feel the reassurance of your strength. If you fold under pressure, she loses faith in your ability to lead. But if you hold steady, she feels secure knowing you mean what you say. Respect in a relationship also means honoring her as well. Listening to her, valuing her feelings, and treating her with kindness, but there is a balance. Respecting her doesn't mean putting her above yourself, nor does it mean disrespecting yourself in the process. The healthiest relationships are built when both partners respect themselves first, and then extend that respect to each other. If one person sacrifices self-respect, the balance is destroyed. A woman wants to feel loved, but she also wants to feel that her man has a backbone. She may enjoy attention and effort, but if that effort comes at the expense of his dignity, she cannot admire him. Respect and boundaries are what make love sustainable. They create a dynamic where attraction continues to grow because she sees him as strong, reliable, and worthy of her trust. When a man respects himself enough to set clear boundaries and respects her enough to honor hers, the relationship doesn't just survive, it flourishes. Confidence is one of the most magnetic qualities a man can bring into a relationship, but it must be distinguished from control. Many men confuse the two, believing that to lead, to guide, or to keep a woman close, they must dominate or dictate her every move. But real confidence does not need to control anyone. It is rooted in trust, self-assurance, and the quiet knowing that you are enough. When a man operates from true confidence, he gives his partner freedom while still inspiring respect and admiration. Control, on the other hand, comes from fear, and fear always destroys attraction. A controlling man micromanages, constantly checks in, or demands that things go his way. He does this not because he is strong, but because deep down, he feels insecure about losing her. His insecurity masks itself as authority, but a woman can feel the difference. Control suffocates. It makes her feel like she is being caged rather than cherished. She may stay for a while out of obligation or guilt, but her respect and admiration for him diminish with every attempt he makes to dominate. Control reveals weakness because it shows that he doesn't trust her or himself enough to let go. Confidence, by contrast, is liberating. A confident man does not need constant reassurance. He trusts his value and knows that if he shows up authentically, he is enough. He does not fear her independence, her strength, or her freedom because he understands that love cannot be forced. Instead of trying to control her, he inspires her loyalty through his presence, his energy, and his character. When a woman feels this type of confidence, she doesn't feel trapped. She feels safe. She doesn't feel policed. She feels chosen. Confidence without control also means leading by example, not by force. A man who is confident doesn't need to raise his voice or impose his will to be respected. His actions, consistency, and decisiveness naturally earn respect. He is grounded in who he is, and that stability draws her closer. She admires his ability to remain calm under pressure, to trust himself without needing external validation, and to allow her to be herself without fear of losing her. In this kind of relationship, love grows because it is based on freedom and respect, not power struggles. The irony is that women are more likely to follow a man's lead when he is confident without being controlling. His calm authority and self-assured presence naturally make her want to align with him, not because she has to, but because she desires to. That is the difference between attraction built on strength and attraction built on fear. What women truly want is not a man who smothers them with control, but a man whose quiet confidence allows them to relax into his leadership. Control pushes her away, but confidence pulls her closer. The more a man trusts himself and releases the need to dominate, the more she feels secure, valued, and drawn to him. True confidence is freedom for both partners, and that freedom is what keeps love alive. Leadership in a relationship isn't just about making decisions or taking charge of practical matters. It's about leading with your energy. A man's energy sets the tone for how a relationship feels, because whether he realizes it or not, she is constantly responding to the vibration he brings. If his energy is chaotic, needy, or insecure, she feels unsettled and unsure. But if his energy is steady, grounded, and intentional, she feels safe, inspired, and drawn closer. Leadership in energy is not about control or dominance. It is about embodying a presence that naturally guides the dynamic without force. Women are highly sensitive to the unspoken. They pick up on how you carry yourself, how you enter a room, how you handle setbacks, and how you respond under pressure. Your words matter, but your energy matters even more. You can say all the right things, but if your energy doesn't align, she feels the disconnect. For example, a man who speaks confidently but secretly doubts himself will project insecurity, and she will sense it even if he tries to hide it. On the other hand, a man who may not speak much but radiates calm self-assurance makes her feel stable just by being there. That is leadership in energy. Your presence speaks louder than your actions or your words. This kind of leadership does not mean you must always be perfect or unshakable. It means that you take responsibility for the energy you bring into the relationship. If you're anxious, you work on grounding yourself before projecting that anxiety onto her. If you're frustrated, you communicate with composure instead of lashing out. A man who leads in energy doesn't dump chaos onto his partner. He processes it, owns it, and then shows up with clarity. This creates a space where she feels she can rest in his presence rather than carry the weight of his instability. Women naturally respond to a man who can direct energy with calm authority. It gives them the freedom to be feminine, expressive, and open because they trust his ability to hold steady. When he sets the tone of peace, she mirrors that peace. When he leads with confidence, she relaxes into that confidence. When his energy is aimless or weak, she feels the need to step in and lead instead. and that reversal often leads to resentment and imbalance. True leadership in energy is subtle yet powerful. It is in the way you stand, the way you listen, the way you respond instead of react. It is choosing direction when things feel uncertain, not with arrogance, but with assurance. It's creating an environment where she feels that no matter what happens, you are a man she can trust to hold steady. At the deepest level, women want a man who doesn't just lead with effort, but with presence. Leadership in energy is about inspiring, not forcing, guiding, not controlling. When you embody strength, calmness, and clarity in your energy, she doesn't just follow your lead, she desires to, because your presence feels like home. So many men exhaust themselves trying to perform in relationships. They think they must constantly impress, constantly prove, and constantly outdo themselves to keep a woman's attention. They pour energy into big gestures, expensive dates, or dramatic shows of love, believing that performance is what keeps her invested. But what women truly want, what they long for at a deeper level, is peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from avoiding conflict, but the kind of peace that comes from a man who is centered, grounded, and content within himself. Performance may capture attention for a moment, but peace captures respect for a lifetime. Performance often comes from insecurity. A man who feels he is not enough will compensate by doing too much. He'll overextend himself, ignore his own needs, or put on an image of strength that he cannot consistently maintain. While this may work in the beginning, over time she sees through it. Performance is temporary, peace is permanent. A man who is at peace with himself doesn't need to act, pretend, or exaggerate. His calm, unshakable presence speaks louder than any display of effort. Women crave that calm because it makes them feel safe, relaxed, and cherished, not as part of a show, but in the reality of everyday life. Peace also creates stability. When a man is constantly performing, there's an underlying pressure in the relationship. She feels the weight of his need for validation, his desperation to keep up appearances, or his constant attempts to impress. This pressure becomes exhausting, and instead of feeling secure, she feels unsettled. But when a man chooses peace over performance, he removes that tension. She doesn't have to question if he's pretending or if he will suddenly change when the act gets tiring. She knows what she sees is real, and that reliability gives her the freedom to relax into the relationship fully. A man who values peace understands the importance of presence over pretense. He doesn't chase validation, nor does he use relationships as a stage to prove his worth. Instead, he shows up authentically, allowing love to grow naturally without forcing it. This doesn't mean he avoids effort altogether. It means his effort is rooted in sincerity, not performance. He listens not because it looks good, but because he truly cares. He shows consistency, not because he wants applause, but because it reflects who he is. What makes peace so attractive is that it allows both partners to be their true selves. Without the pressure of constant performance, she can open up, be vulnerable, and trust that the relationship is built on truth, not illusion. Peace allows love to grow slowly and steadily, creating a bond that no performance can sustain. At the core, women do not want a man who is always on stage, trying to win approval. They want a man who brings calm into their lives, who provides reassurance through his stability, and who makes them feel at home in his presence. Peace over performance is what transforms relationships from fragile to unbreakable, because peace never burns out, it only deepens with time. At the end of the day, relationships don't thrive on effort that comes from insecurity, performance, or the need to constantly prove yourself. What women truly want is a man who is authentic, emotionally present, consistent in his actions, calm in his masculinity, respectful with boundaries, confident without controlling, leading with his energy, and anchored in peace rather than performance. These qualities don't just create attraction, they create admiration, trust, and loyalty that no superficial effort can ever sustain. Women don't want to feel overwhelmed by empty gestures. They want to feel safe, understood, and deeply connected to a man who knows who he is and stands firm in that truth. When you embody these traits, you stop chasing love and start attracting it effortlessly, because real strength is not in trying harder, it's in being grounded, genuine, and at peace with yourself. That is what makes a man unforgettable.